Welcome to lesson 2 in module 1, a view from the top, the CEO's perspective. We're actually going to start with the second attribute of being an orchestrator. Don't worry, we'll come back to the first attribute here in a little bit. But this idea of understanding the CEO's perspective is critical. By understanding and knowing what your company values, you can make better choices about where to spend your time and elevate the way you work and lead as a commercial enablement professional. The ultimate goal of commercial enablement is to orchestrate. This is not just about the leader of commercial enablement. It's about everybody in sales enablement and commercial enablement to be able to do that. So as we talk about what it looks like and what it means to be successful in the role, it's critically important to take an executive lens. Even if your role is not necessarily cast as a leader position, or perhaps not even a executive level position, or not as a function, that's okay. Let's start with what CEOs are looking for in the help that they need, even if they struggle to articulate it. We've done a lot of research on this. Scott Santucci's done a lot of research on this. For 15 years, he's been working backwards from what executives want and expect from the enablement function. You're going to hear from Scott here in a little bit, but the bottom line is, as an enablement leader, you must clearly show that you understand the business you're operating in and also clearly articulate to the CEO how to help solve those challenges. That is the messaging, that is the positioning that we take in this curriculum. How do you develop the talk track? How do you practice setting and managing, leading, and defining executive expectations? Even if you're not talking to the CEO, let's work on messaging that way so that you can elevate your role over time. Executives need help to blend strategy and tactics. This is easier said than done. There's a lot of status quo in your organization. To deliver customer outcomes, a lot of work needs to be done as leaders lead across the organization. The tactics, the strategy, the culture, the people, that structure of the organization needs to bring it all together. Tactics like modularizing work, structure like defining functions and leadership accountabilities, culture, engineering culture, innovation culture, finance culture, sales-driven culture. What's the culture? What is this business strategy? And how is that business strategy evolving? How do you, in essence, skate to the puck? And then people. How do people plug in or define their role in such a way that they can help elevate the strategy and help achieve success? How do they become part of one unified, cohesive whole? That means putting the company strategy and sometimes the team before themselves. That's not easy when people don't report into you, and it's not easy when they do. So let's talk about this. Let's get a view of what CEOs expect. Let's hear from Scott Santucci and the keynote he gave at one of the Forrester conferences. Don't let this date fool you. This is timeless material. CEOs still think this way today, and they have the same exact questions that they had back then about their sales force. The challenge is that these questions that they're asking have not been addressed, and that's where you come in. Let's take a listen.
Hi, so I mentioned that I had more detail on the perspective of CEOs. So I'm going to go through real quickly. This was a keynote presentation given at one of our conferences at Forrester. I know it's dated, but this really isn't going to change much. But CEO in the perspective of Salesforce. So again, we had George go off and go to Davos, and he would go do research, and he would always go before me, and I would never know what the hell he was going to talk about. I swear to God, never. So this is what he put together. So you know, what was his analysis he got from 2011? What did CEO say? My sales force isn't strategic. So it's missing speed, sophistication, storytelling, the right people, a growth mentality. Is it any different? No. So I think this is all stuff that we can repurpose and do. So 2013, we asked a different question. I love this because here's sort of the belief. What I'm trying to do is share with you guys some ingrained expertise and research. We spent, George and I spent 2 months getting this question correct. And I'd bring up, hey, these are the things I want to know, and it's in all these details. And yell at me. He's like, you kidding me? You can't ask a CEO that. So we whittled it down and we got it to this. What are you, and we emphasized the you, and he made sure to emphasize that, personally doing to ensure that your sales force is getting the company to its strategic goals? I'm asking you to pause here. Don't just focus on the question. The reason I'm sharing with you is by having somebody who is a CEO do research for other CEOs. We want to know about their revenue or whatever. This is not the language of CEOs. This is literally the question that I got approved. And I was happy about it. And, so for you guys, we got to have the discipline. This is why things don't go through if it's not framed right. Framing is everything. So anyway, what are you personally doing to ensure that your sales force is getting the company to its strategic goals? So basically, he did the feedback. Said one is build great products. So these are some quotes. If I created terrific products, the sales force will follow. The product has to be right. Salespeople can't sell crap. So these are reasons why there's productitis. By the way, look at these opinions. More comments. Create a great product and a great vision, and the sales force will follow. So another view, I sell, the CEO sells. I spend 1/3 of my time with customers. I met with 1,000 customers per year. George said there's no way that's true. All right, he called bullshit on that one. But these are exact quotes. Does it mean it's accurate? It doesn't matter. I'm in the field with salespeople at least once a week, and I want to see them up close and personal. I sell more. I personally follow up on deals. I call 25% of buyers and ask them, why did you buy? What do you want from us? I hope you guys see what is something I bring up a lot. Why and what? 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 These are the most important questions. I get to be face to face with salespeople. Got to have a presence with them. You've got to walk the talk of being customer focused. Is the most important thing that I do. I personally lead the sales force. I'm always with them. I used to assign our top 30 executives 10 accounts to pay attention to, but that wasn't enough time or depth. So I cut it to one account, and we are getting much better results. Now, Dave, look at this quote and think about what we could do, what these guys could do with Polaris. You know what I mean? Set clear goals. So this is third choice, is I set clear goals. I create the metrics and hold the sales force to them. I give consistent, clear sales goals and measure them monthly. Set clear goals more. I make them accountable through metrics, clear, solid, and I hold the sales force to them. I'm, this I hope this sounds like for Brian it should sound like a broken record. People just don't fucking follow the metrics. It's unbelievable, but these are beliefs coming from the CEO. I personally create the metrics and hold the sales force to them, but they just won't understand why they're following the metrics in the first place. It's unbelievable. And this is what I'm trying to highlight. The reason I'm sharing this is to create a lot more empathy about the gap and why the commercial ratio is such a powerful tool if we lean into the empathy. Um, Push the vision. I'm always educating the vision of the company, educating the vision of the company. I preach the vision at kickoff, quarterly meetings, and via blog. The reason I'm bringing this one up is uh, Ray, the CEO at Omnitrax, has a vision he's trying to articulate, but no one in his fucking company is listening to him. It's unbelievable how much he's trying. And it was so bad in the Townsend meeting. So, um, Brian and Walter and Brooke, you guys were all there. We took quotes from the CEO and read them out and asked people who they thought, what they thought of them, and they trashed it. It was unbelievable, the gap between the vision of the executive and what people see. And I think that's something that's something I personally can empathize with a lot. In working on the Acuvia uh, contract, I've been very consistent about the vision, right? And the gap between the vision and how people see it are so different. And we got to bridge that gap, not only for us, but if we do that as a service. Walter, clarity is a service. Clarity is a service. Hello, hello. If you learn how to do it and get more clear with me, this is a huge problem. Just this vision, the vision to translate into stuff. I'm always educating the vision of the company. I preach the vision at kickoffs, quarterly meetings, and via my blog. And they think it's done. They think they can check the box. Honestly, that's the mindset of these CEOs. By explaining the vision to the sales force, I create a cadence and rapport. Yeah, just that time when you go do it that one time. I work with the sales force so they can understand the whole business. This is really important, so they can understand the whole business. It's important for executives to make sure people have empathy for the whole business so they can understand the whole business. How resistant to people? How resistant are you to be empathetic at just your peers? What are we doing to learn from each other? So going into Mimecast, I want to make sure we understand that the more we can learn to understand everybody's role or to challenge people who aren't clear on their role, it's not about the person. Let's get the feeling shit out of the way and concentrate on if we're able to match this, the value we're going to be able to provide Mimecast is off the charts. To really nail it for Acuvia and why this among message is so important. These are beliefs that CEOs have about pushing the vision and the ability to hear or to translate the vision into something tangible to them as individuals just isn't there. It's not a skill issue. It's not about individuals. It's a translation and communications problem, which should be right up all of our alleys as a service. That communications is done through technology, that communications is done through knowledge transfer, that communication is done through good messaging. Push the vision. We are a culture of innovation, and I continually preach this to the sales force so they can impart it to customers. Have you noticed the word preaching and evangelism? What does it mean? How do we make it tangible? We can't just take these words. They have tons of meaning from CEOs. They are very thoughtful in how they communicate. This is important because without it, our salespeople will not be able to sell the innovative high margin products. This same as us. This is the same as Acuvia. Without the ability to understand what being innovative really, really means, it's not just words. It's not lip service. There's a whole bunch to it. If you can't connect the dots, if you can't help people see the vision, if you can't help people see what's possible, if you can't put the time and energy to make that a very rigorous discipline, you got nothing. And that's the thing that's um, challenging for me with the vision here about what's possible. We need to fill in the gaps. If you don't understand something, that's a great opportunity for us to turn into tools because other people might not have it. Don't be the people inside companies CEOs are frustrated with by saying, I get it, I get it, I get it, and then not being able to get it. It's, I don't get it. And here's what I'm going to do to meet you halfway. And then let's bridge the gap. That is what will produce the deliverables and the outputs that we're going to need to be specific. Architect compensation was one. So this is something that I didn't know about. Now that, because I worked at AGI, I know a lot about. I am really well versed in compensation strategies. I personally tune the comp plan. It's important because salespeople are coin operated. If you believe this, then you're only going to have a transactional sales force. So you can see where the problems come from by beliefs. Comp is number one. I personally make sure it's built in the right way. The comp. Architect compensation. I did it with I did away with commission. Yeah, it created too much competition and did not and not enough cooperation. Think about that. Think about how radical that is. But too much internal competition means we're not competing against our competitors. We're competing inside ourselves. Focus on people. I personally interview salespeople. It's all about hiring the right people. I rally the troops with awards. Now let's focus on what people means. I rally the troops with awards. Focus on people. In the highest performers, I look for best practices. In the lowest performers, I actively move them out of the organization. 80-20, right? This is a bell-shaped curve. I probably shouldn't, but I ignore salespeople in the middle. Nope, that's fucking smart. This is smart. We are now badging reps based on 3 levels of expertise. This helps in 2 ways. It creates competition and it enables us to figure out who has the skills to serve our best accounts. I like a public hanging every quarter or so for over discounting or not staying on strategy. I got to tell you, I I have a lot of empathy for this. If you think about this, I relate this quote to the quote of in Moneyball. You pay me to steal second. No, I pay you to get on first, not thrown out at second. That's deserving of a public hanging. I know what you want from me. No, you're not listening to me. This is what I want from you. This is your job, not what you want it to be, not what your personal gratification is. Our goals have to align your personal gratification and what the role is. If these don't fit, you got to go. And helping to make this more clear is something all of us could be doing. I think this is a detangler. The whole purpose of detangling is to prevent this. No one likes this, yet it's effective because people just lose sight of what they're doing. So this discipline, this forcing people to get in line, I have a lot of empathy for. I think it has more negative ramifications because people are already too anxious. So there's other ways to do it. However, not having some call out on the carpet accountability because we're too over rotated to people's feelings creates worse problems. That's my observation, at least. There is a key cultural issue every year. I go out into the field and preach it. So do you notice when they talk about people, right? That was they don't talk about training because George separated training out separately, and he said was the least one that was on the minds of CEOs. Yet somehow in sales and marketing, everybody thinks say training is the number one thing, like it's the silver bullet. It's just if you notice, it's only six on the list. I've been deeply involved in building video-based self-study for the Salesforce. Okay. This has included recording several sessions personally to help the whole Salesforce get on message. So really, this isn't about training. This is about getting on message, right? And here's the thing that's good about this. The CEO doing this maybe should pay attention to it, right? I train salespeople to look for the right clients. If we get the wrong clients, it will literally kill us. This is being the strike zone. Who are we going after? Who are we targeting? Having this discipline. Who has this discipline? We get the top 100 salespeople off site. They do 2 days of online simulation of being the strategic, passionate CEO. They compete for the top spot. Think about that. I'm not training them to be salespeople. I'm training them to be CEOs. So what does this all mean? George puts us, CEOs lie. There's a lot of thrashing, not much systems thinking. So, Dave, this is why I was saying, I'm not really sure system. A lot of big gut, not a lot of big data, but they can't rely on the big data because it's just all over the place. So this still exists, by the way. People are going to make snap decisions about their sales forces. Gather data on what works the best. This just isn't done. This is a recommendation. Gather the data on what works the best. That's what he got from talking to these people. Gather the data on what works the best. Are we talking about what works the best on a team? Look how much I bring it up and how hard it is to do that. If we can just appreciate that we can do it, we're innovating by giving something that CEOs want that they can't get from internally. So it's got to start somewhere. We can't read a book and go do it because no one's doing it. How do we learn to do what works? This is one of the reasons why I lead with it's the experience stupid, and go back and tell me the story of the Sales Enablement Society. Go back and tell me the story of the hang gliding exercise. Omnitrax Townsend, Brian, Software AG. Focus on what works. Can you figure out what works? This is what CEOs want to see. Build a plan for the CEO that fits with your plan, and show him or her why it makes sense. Very, very simple, right? You must think about, be empathetic. Here's the plan. I want you as the CEO. I'm going to design you into my plan, not just do shit. What role do you want to play for the CEO? And then say, here's why this makes sense. Be prepared for it. At this form, figure it out for the CEO. Then that's how we set up the whole conference. He had some data because he can't resist putting data in there. That's what it is. So here's some, empathy and employee attitudes. I think that was a throwaway. But overall, I hope this helps create empathy for the CEO bucket.
All right. So what did you think of that conversation with Scott? Some pretty harsh words. And this is one of the things that over my years in commercial enablement have really tried to lean in on is what are the conversations? Obviously, the view from the top is different than the view of the newest person on the team. However, what type of ecosystem is the CEO responsible for? Who is he accountable to? And isn't it possible that the CEO is governed by specific laws of how to recognize revenue and financial data, and he can get or she can get thrown in jail for misrepresenting it? Isn't it possible that sometimes CEOs have to say things that encourage people and make them feel like things are possible? But how do they think about the sales force? And why does that matter to you? Some of the words may be overly harsh, but it's reality and it exists today. So lean into that. Be curious. Be uncomfortable. Some key takeaways from this module are there's different types of CEOs. You can listen to what they say and understand their perspective. Where can you do that? They make a lot of public statements. If you're in a publicly traded company, listen to how they answer questions and answer session from the earnings calls. Listen to how they're talking. Take the time to listen to earnings calls and other publicly available information. You should be doing that. CEOs have a vested interest in sales success. Aligning to him or her can help you drive strategic change and skate to the puck. Learn to read between the lines. The more you listen to the CEO for the longer you do it, the more patterns you will see. And ask yourself, what is he or she saying? It's in the best interest to learn how to role play with others, like you're having a CEO conversation. Take the time to practice the language and get a thick skin. They say it like it is. Be a leader. Sometimes they may swear. Sometimes they may get passionate. Sometimes they may not return your call. There's a lot going on in the executive level to try to drive growth. But one thing is common across what Scott shared, and that is figuring it out, figuring it out, figuring it out, figuring it out. Spend more time figuring it out. I'll see you in lesson 3.